bit of a call about glyphosates, and it's becoming antisocial, for goodness sake.
Yes, well, what's happened, and somebody in Brussels had a rush of blood about 9 or 10 months ago, Rob, regarding the use of glyphosate and also glufosinate ammonium, which is actually buster. And glyphosate's obviously glyphosate or Roundup as we know it commercially, and they've said it's all of a sudden it's got these carcinogenic problems. And the greenies and everything else have really piled in onto this, and it now has to be proven. Unfortunately, the authorities allowed the industry in UK or the Greater Europe to extend the time of proof over the next 18 months, which is a very short period of time to say, hey, this carcinogenic story isn't true. Sure, we have got some resistance with glyphosate out there with grasses, and we are, as an industry, a chemical ag chem industry, dealing with that. But this carcinogenic thing just came from the left field, as I say, only about 9 months ago. Whilst I was in Europe just recently, that was turned over that they would give them a further 18 months. This has huge ramifications for not only the Greater Europe, but also here in New Zealand. Glyphosate itself is one of the biggest used herbicide in the world for knocking out grasses and flatweeds. We can't really live without it. I'm sure in time, and there are options, but in time there will be some replacement. But in the meantime, probably the next decade, we definitely need glyphosate, and we also need glufosinate ammonium. Now, already a number of countries, smaller countries, have rolled over on this and have banned glufosinate ammonium. Not UK or not some of the bigger agricultural countries such as France and Poland and things like that, but some of the smaller countries, the Baltic countries and what have you, have rolled over on it and said, okay, we're going to be nice and clean and green and everybody's going to buy our produce. But of course that doesn't necessarily always work because the weeds will grow.
Yes, but I mean, this business, there was a time when coffee was causing cancer, and the next thing you know, coffee is actually helping you avoid it.
Correct.
So, like, hello?
Yeah, this is why they've gone for this extension and got it without any argument, and let's hope common sense prevails.
Yep. Talk about Europe, because you've been over there recently.
Yes, I was in the UK at the time when they decided to exit in shock about most of Britain, where it was quite interesting because London did vote to stay in, Scotland certainly voted to stay in. The rural countryside of UK itself voted to go out, and so did Wales, to the horror of all, I think. It was a real shock. I don't think anybody really realised that they were going to jump ship. Having said that, what effects are going to have? I mean, I was at a blackcurrant conference in Kent just a week before the referendum, and the growers there, they were serious about staying in. They need the workers from Europe. They need the exports to Europe. I don't think that's going to change a heck of a lot. The 60 million people or 65 million people in the UK need to be fed. They haven't got enough food in the UK, so they're going to have to get food from somewhere. Let's hope it's New Zealand. So, you know, I think out of it, from a New Zealand perspective, I think it's going to be quite positive. And in the longer term, if UK get off their chuff and organise themselves correctly, it probably will be beneficial for them too.
Because it's not a trade ban, is it?
No, well, it's not, but they're going to be renegotiated. So there's going to be the odd curly one come out of the woodwork, I'm sure. One of the ones that came out 2 days after the referendum was the French. I mean, the British border in terms of immigration, and that's what it was all about, was the immigration. It was Calais. Was the main importing area for immigrants to come into UK. Well, the French have said, blow you, if you want us out, well, you can stay out, and Dover's now the place. So fight your own arguments in your own land. And I think that's fair, I'm sure. But it was really interesting that the statistics in the paper were saying 350,000 immigrants come into UK every year. That's probably about true. They come in, but about 200 plus are actually extradited, but they're not actually brought in at all. They are vetted very, very well. They want doctors, they want nurses, they want professional people, and they're getting them, of course, from these countries. And they're being quite selective in sending the ones home, but the media don't tell you too much about that.
Yeah, and of course, Kiwis say, but we can't get in, we come in as an alien. And who bowed you out in 1914 and 1945?
Exactly.
But anyway, that's for sure. Yeah. I guess this time of year we do get a wee bit of winter.
Yes,
but that leads into copper, doesn't it?
That's an interesting one, Rob, saying a wee bit of winter, because, you know, we normally try and get about 1,700 hours of chilling hours. At the moment, we've got around about 750 to 800 hours. So we need 1,000 in the next 6 weeks, and I don't think we're going to get it, which is going to hurt some crops. Well, when I say hurt some crops, it affects crops like the sown fruit and berry fruit and apples, and they need to go into true dormancy. And at the moment, they're not getting into true dormancy. They're actually still thinking, is this spring today or is it winter tomorrow? And that's what's been happening. So anyway, besides that, the leaves are now falling off, and it's time to put coppers on to clean up any trash that's around on the trees and also on the ground. And I do wish to encourage growers, whether they be orchardists or, or grape growers, whatever, clean their ground underneath, because those leaves have got disease on them, a bit of leaf spot and things like that, and they don't break down very well. So when you actually apply your copper, one of the best things to do there is to add a little bit of nitrogen to it, so by the way of calcium nitrate or something like that in the tank. That helps to break it down, but it's also best to sweep that trash away when you're mulching up and cleaning up your prunings, so get rid of it that way also.
Some people use livestock, don't they?
Yes, they do. They use the livestock to clean up the weeds around, but the livestock won't eat the dead matter. So you're better to actually sweep it up, get it mulched, and when it breaks down, the livestock can carry on and eat it without any problem at all. So
you really want some real cold weather between now and spring?
We certainly do. We need a succession of sequential frosts would be good. Snow, I dare say, for the ski fields, but when we've got snow, we get frost afterwards. So let's hope it does snow. I mean, today again is predicted to be nor'west, so that the snow will disappear rather than gather up. So it's a funny old interesting time. Talking to the English growers and talking to the European growers, we are mirroring their last winter. They didn't have any winter until about the first few days of January, and then they had a real winter for all of January. So maybe we'll get that through the better part of July and August.